Hello everybody, Reggie Time here with another 6 plus episode. We're not playing higher stakes today because I pretty much got my ass handed to me yesterday and I had a pretty big downswing. Quickly pull it up to show you guys. There it is in graph form. Boom, boom. 2 big downswings. And if we look at the days, we lost 2,500 and 5,500. It was a fucking disaster, basically. I didn't run particularly well, which is whatever. I don't think I played particularly well either. I've watched some content today, read some articles. I feel like I've improved since yesterday. The results haven't borne that out yet today. I'm about even for the day. But yeah, because the results, if we look back at this again, sorry, this was like from it's a weird clock they use here, like it's not the UK GMT clock, I don't think. I started today's session as in from this morning at around this number, and we're still at that number. But I've ran pretty damn salty today. I think we've had 7 or 8 all-ins and I've won just one of them. Then in other situations, you know, we've managed to get stacks in and do well. So overall, it's been a reasonable day in terms of, I think I've played much better, but we haven't increased our net worth. So there we go. Going to be some relatively big changes today from how I've been playing previously, because I don't think I mean I thought I was playing well, but it turns out maybe I haven't been playing well. I've been like raising way too many hands from early position rather than limping with them and try to set up some limp raise spots or just some like limp seer flop spots. And I've not really been playing the right type of hands too. I've been undervaluing these types of hands, these suited connector type hands, and overvaluing stuff like ace queen off, ace jack off, things like that. So we're going to see some different play. Hopefully some better play. I'm playing 3 tables for the video because I think 2 tables would be a little bit slow, but I'm playing just 2 tables for the time being when I'm playing without recording, to try and give myself a bit more time to think, to try and like access the new stuff that I think I've learned, because obviously when you first learn something, it's there if you concentrate and access it, but you haven't learned it anywhere near to like an unconscious competence level. I'm consciously semi-competent, I would say, at the minute, for those of you who are familiar with the mental game of poker. And those of you who aren't familiar with it, you should make yourself familiar with it, because it is basically, in my opinion, the poker mental game Bible. So yeah, I was playing way too much of a pre-flop orientated game. I was getting involved in lots and lots of pre-flop all-ins where we have reasonable equity, but that's all we have. You know, like lots of like flips, coin flip situations, slight favourite, slight underdog. I think I'm going to go with the ISO. This is something I haven't been doing, is like ISO in these types of hands, because I was scared like we ISO then we get jammed on, we can't call, but turns out you can call with these types of hands if you get jammed on. You don't want to be jammed on, of course, but they perform. This is going to perform better than something like ace jack, for example. So that's like one of the pretty big mistakes I've been making, is like using more like hands that perform better in no limit hold'em for my like all-in situations than hands that perform better in this game. I guess that's a very common mistake lots of new players to this game make. Here we have a pair and an open ender. I think we're allowed to just go broke here. I'm going to bet pot and not fold with our pair and open end straight draw. Obviously we could be drawing dead to a queen jack and what have you, but that's why it's called gambling. I think when we get called, I don't think we have any fold equity, and we still have some pot equity, so I don't think we're going to go with the jam here. If he doesn't bet, maybe we can turn our hand into a bluff. Now the flush has come and the board has paired. I will play like a lot of my flop sets this way, but I didn't realise we were multi-way. Anyway, it turns out this guy's taking that option away from us. And I think my understanding of how... What the fuck are we doing? No, this guy is just very tight pre-flop. With he isolates at this size, King Queen's going to be just in a massive world of pain. Turns out it might not be anymore, but I'm pretty familiar with how this guy plays. Yeah, so a lot of the regulars who I've previously been very critical of, turns out they've probably been playing better than me, and I've been mega critical. And another person who I've been like poked a little bit of fun at, who I've actually watched quite a bit of his content now, and got lots more still to watch, is the German porn star, the guy who's got like the 6+ channel on YouTube. He has a lot of very good content. Once you get past his manner, his way of like delivering information, which I still find quite comical, and actually listen to what he's saying, is very, very interesting. Learn plenty from him, and yeah, that's something I'm going to be watching a lot of his content in the coming days. I'm tempted to purchase some pre-flop starting charts, but they're not cheap. Might see if we can find some ones for free somewhere. But what is very apparent is I have so much learning to do about this game, which I already knew, but I thought I knew more than I did. I am a novice at the game. I'm fully aware of that now. I thought, a decent no limit hold'em player, how hard can it be to switch into these games with lots and lots of fish, etc., and not do too badly. And even though I've still, like, my win rate is very good, you know, we still made like looking 20 to 30 buy-ins in like a very short space of time. I'm fully aware now of just how fucking well I ran. I thought, oh, I'm quite good at this game and I'm running well. Turns out I'm not quite good at this game, and I was just running fucking redder than red hot. Basically, last week I ran as well as it's probably possible to run, and then that kind of gave me a false sense of security as to how big my edge was. Actually, I think I still have edge, but not even close to being the amount of edge that I thought I had. If this was Jack 10 suited, I'd just flick it in here, but Jack 9, I think we'll fold it. If we had 10-9 suited, I think I would also just flick it in. James is going to have like a lot of Ace King, Ace Queen suited, and those types of things. So that was like a pure suited connector without the gap in it. I think we'd have just rolled the dice with James there. Especially as I know at the moment, James runs fucking horrible. So if there's a person you want to get it all in pre against in a flip, it's James. Because you're just going to smash him up in the luck stakes. Because he is running like the fattest kid on the hottest sports day right now. Here we have a gut shot to the nuts. I'd rather try and bet smallish here and control how big the bets are that go in, than check and maybe have to call a larger bet. We get called in 2 spots and the board pairs, so we're not going to be putting any more of our money in here. We went for a big ISO with the jacks. This dude's limp called. Pretty large ISO under the gun, and then he just leads out on this flop, which nothing which we can do with this hand on that board. And nothing we can do here with the Jack Queen. Guy just had the 9s, that's interesting. I mean, obviously his play worked, but not necessarily think it's that good what he did there. He gets me up exactly like Kings, Aces and Jacks, but still not convinced. Who knows though? Might be better. I'm gonna be very cautious about labelling something as bad, because I think I've labelled several things as bad in my early adventures making videos in these games that probably turned out to not be bad. I think I probably made a complete fool of myself on numerous occasions. To anyone who watches these videos who's good at the game, I think they'll be looking at me and listen to what I'm saying and be like, what is this fucking fat idiot talking about? He hasn't got a clue. But I think that my strategy now is much more designed to try and get to post flop where I feel you can find slightly bigger edges, and even then they're not huge edges, but you know like if you're, I think like playing pre-flop, getting it all in, it's hard to get it in with a huge fucking advantage in these games. Like aces versus kings, for example, is whatever. Like kings has got 30% whereas in No Limit it's got 18%. So it's hard to like really get it in super good in these games pre-flop. If you're getting it all in pre a lot, then maybe you've got a tiny advantage if you're doing it really well with super good ranges. But it's hard to find a really big edge there. But post-flop, I think where you can get fat value from hands that shouldn't really be calling, and also conversely, make people, or try and make people, fold too much equity. When you've got like a decent draw that you're willing to play super aggressively. So that's more my strategy. I mean, it sounds weird that you say you can. I'm saying that I think you can get fat value post flop from hands that shouldn't call, whilst at the same time talking about trying to make use of fold equity. Those two things don't seem to rub along properly together, but I think they kind of do. If you're playing basically what I'm saying is that I think I'm going to play my ranges post flop better than several of my opponents, and I've find bigger edge in my post flop play than I am in my pre flop play. I guess that's what I'm saying. I mean, spots like this, I mean, you've got to play the pre-flop game sometimes. If someone raises, we're just going to go all in or what have you. You've got to play that game. You can't not play it. But I'm trying to avoid playing it as frequently as I have been playing it. I think I've been making my isolation raises way too small too. I'm tending to make them kind of between 1.7 and 2x pot when I am doing these big ISO raises. And as you can see, people still call. Maybe we could just go all in with ace-king there, because now we're going to be going multi-way to the flop, and if we don't hit, we're going to probably just have to get out of the way. And when we do hit, even on a board like this, we're very unlikely to be a big favourite. If all the money goes in here, which it's going to have to do, we could already be crushed, and against calling ranges, they're going to have a ton of equity again. So that Jack 10 is probably a favourite here against us, for example. But on the other side of that is if someone's limping in with like an ace queen, ace jack, ace 10 type of hand that they're probably not allowed to fold, then we're going to be able to get plenty of value from that. Do I want to squeeze this 9-8 suited here? I think we'll try. And if we get limp jammed on, we're going to have to call it off at this stack depth. Put way too much of our stack into fold a hand that's going to have this much equity. We're going to try and get heads up as often as we can. Time to get there, I guess. So against ace king, we're virtually a coin flip, and we do get there. So that looks like it's been a massive suck out there. Oh, they've got it in 9-8 versus ace king, but we're virtually a flip there. I mean, ace king's a small favourite, maybe like 55-45 or something like that. I don't know all the pre-flop equities yet, but I know that's like pretty close. I very much doubt we're like less than a 45% favourite there. And when you factor in that sometimes they're just going to fold pre-flop and you just pick up the dead money, then I think that's an okay play. Could be overplaying. This could be an adjustment I've made that's too far. Maybe that's just a limp on the button. Maybe I should just over limp there. But it's just really hard to win these pots. Once you check the button, you're going like 6 ways to a flop or 5 ways to a flop as it would have been. It's just really hard to end up with the best hand. So again, I could be making some big adjustments here that just aren't right. But that's how we learn. Very deep here with a very bad player. So we're going to try and see a flopping position. Don't flop at all well. So we're going to bail out. I'm going to top my stack up so I can take it back down again. Because one of the big problems I had last night was I was playing some tables where you weren't allowed to chip withdraw. And we got very deep. And then I made some pretty fucking big mistakes. And there were several spots where I was in like literally 700 and 800 anti-pots, and I didn't win any of them, which is why we had such a fucking big disaster. I think it's going to be hard to lose as much as I have in the last couple of days without playing those super deep spots. I think when we're just buying in for 100 antis and then withdrawing down so we never have more than like 600 antis in play, I think it's going to be a lot, 600 chips in play. I think it's going to be a lot harder to have the kind of swings that I experienced yesterday. Still can happen, of course, but when I lost like 5,000 chips in like almost just about a session, I think it was, that's going to be hard to do when you're just playing like 100 anti-poker. But because we were playing very deep yesterday, it's obviously way easier to do. So that's something I've lived and learned by, or hopefully have. Just make sure that you're managing, or make sure I'm managing my stack correctly, and not allow myself to get into super deep spots where A, I'm not very well versed in them, and B, because the equities run so close, you're getting some enormous flips for like 800 antis, and I think we even played like a 1000 anti pot yesterday, where I didn't play the hand at all well and got my ass completely handed to me. Here with the ace king, it was just very easy pre-flop all in if needs be. And if we flop anything close to good, which we don't, in these situations, had we flopped a top pair here with an SPR of like less than 2, my general line is just to go all in. People are willing to call very large pre-flop raises in these games, which I think is too much of a mistake. When I'm making it like almost 20 antis pre-flop, I think you should be playing jam or fold against that, not call. So I think anyone who is calling raises as large as that is likely making some pretty big mistakes long term. Because I think once someone makes it like anything over like, what's it going to be, 14 antis pre, even 10 antis pre, I think you should usually be looking to go all in or fold against that. Here we have 2 kings, but we have a very coordinated board. We're not going to be looking to pile too much money in here. We have like a SPR of 3 or so. I think it'd be a mistake just to pile kings in here. I think like 1 pair, even over pairs, are just not that strong in this game. If all the money goes in and you've got 1 pair or even just an over pair, all the over pairs are going to perform better than top pair does. I think you're going to be getting your money in bad too often. And we had to check call there with the straight draw to go with the flush draw. Over here with the top pair and the straight draw now, I think we can probably bet. Kings loose to the 9s. Here we have someone who's going to set the game on fire, as you can tell by his pre-flop statistics. You know, these guys just set games completely on fire. They're a lot of fun to play with, but they don't half ramp up the variance. So if this stack goes past 750, we'll top it up to claw it back again. So what I did do last night was when I saw some of these like really manic guys, I was kind of like, I got overexcited, and rather than just play 100 ante against them, I was like topping up to try and cover them or to try and get as close to covering them as possible. Greedy reg, and boy did I get punished. Boy did I get fucking punished. So I guess what I'm saying is that my strategy, it was a little bit too, well, way too aggressive pre-flop, and with the wrong types of hands. I don't want to say it was too tight and aggressive pre-flop. I think I'm playing a little bit looser now because I'm overlimping more. But I think I'm also playing better. I'm playing like a more loose passive style, which doesn't feel right from a no limit hold'em point of view, but I think it's absolutely a more appropriate style for this game. Not for these games in particular. You know, I'm not saying these games are any different to lots of other games that that play on other sites. So not like specifying, you know, these exact games. I just think for this game in general, it suits a much more loose passive style pre-flop, and then a more aggressive gambly style post-flop when you flop well. You either strong made hands or flop well with draws, etc. Right, we're not going to be able to limp as much at this table now because of this guy. So we're just going to have to play pretty fucking snug at this table now, which always feels shit because, you know, you're putting 7 antes and orbit in. So if you go, you know, 2 orbits without finding a playable hand, then it can feel like you're just bleeding chips. But then one pot will just kick off out of nowhere where you have decent equity and work out well. We have a gut shot here. I think we have more strong hands than he does, so we're just going to make a small stab and just be sad if we get raised. If we get called, we're going to hope to get there and not be up against a full house, because now we've got an SPR of 1. I mean, we're probably fucked here. You know, we lose to ace king, ace queen. Don't think he has aces and pocket kings too often. I don't think we can fold. And we win, which is nice. Don't like his shove there on the turn very much. I'm just not sure what he's hoping to make fold there. I mean, if it's for value, then I mean, I'm not sure where he gets value from. Yeah, I just don't know. Don't really know what he's playing at there. Especially when I can have all the full houses already. He's drawing dead against full houses. He's not in terrible shape against the hand I had. He's got reasonable equity against that. But yeah, I think when he jams and gets called there, he's always getting bad news. He's never getting good news. I mean, I'm not going to turn up there with like an ace-7, for example, because I'm just not raising ace-7 pre-flop. It's tempting to bump up, but I think it's just the gap's just too large. The gap's just too large. I've already seen this guy up here who's got, and I think he needs to be blue, not orange. He's like willing to call like 20 antes pre-flop with speculative holdings. Top pair on that board's just cheese as far as I'm concerned. There's no turn card we're going to want to see. There isn't a turn card in the deck that we're going to be happy to see. Guess a 9 or a king would be like, that's okay, I suppose, but we could just be drawing close to dead there or be in very rough shape, and then when we do improve, just lose even more money. Can be checked on the turn. I'm going to assume he's like a flop 2 pair or something like that. Oh, he had a draw and then didn't bother barreling the turn. And then got there for the chop on the river. Could see some fun pots between these two at this table, given they're both like pretty damn deep, and neither of them appear to be skilled enough players to play this stack depth, although I could be wrong. One or both of them could be very good, and I might just not know that the things they're doing are good. I still maintain that limp calling 18 to 20 anti-raises is, I don't see how it can be good. But I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again. These are the hands I need to do more work on now. Is it a playable hand? I don't like the gap very much. Feels like too much needs to happen for that to connect well. And we need the 10 and the 9 to make a straight on board. I think we're going to flop. Well, this table's just randomly closed. Let's try and find another one. I think we're going to like flop too many like gut shots and like half-assed hands there, and not enough super solid hands that we're going to be really happy to go with. Right, one thing at a time, Rich. Putting the big ISO raising with the ace queen here. We're about to start another table here because we're at the 2 tables we want to be at. I don't want to play full ring, so we might have to start a new table. See what's an option to us. That's one where you can't withdraw, so we don't want to be doing that. We do not want to be joining tables where withdrawing is not allowed, because my recent history tells me that is not good for me. Not convinced by these pairs either. Medium pocket pairs. I think like 6s, 7s, 8s are not that great. That 9s, 10s probably better. But even when you flop a set in this game, I was watching a video earlier, and like when you flop a set against a draw, whereas in No Limit Hold'em you get it in like 65-70% equity, in this game with your sets against draws, sometimes your set can be an underdog or very close to a coin flip. So even when you smash the flop and you make a set, you're still not a huge favourite to win the hand a lot of the time. I mean, you're probably a huge favourite against like just top pair and things like that. But I'm not convinced people are putting huge amounts of money with top pair in these games. So, I'm not sure. Certainly a part of my game that needs more study before I'm willing to get super involved with sets. It feels like, again, sets have been hands I've been overvaluing the equity of. Which has basically been the cause of my problems for the last couple of days, is just overvaluing the equity of some hands and undervaluing the equity of other hands, which is fine. I'm a new player. That's bound to happen. I'm just very grateful for the heat I received last week that's allowed me to absorb a pretty brutal downswing and still not be ready to throw all my toys out of the Prem. I'm also fully aware now that bankroll management in this game, I thought, well, we'll be okay with 30 buy-ins, not even fucking close. I'll be playing these $5 buy-in games for sorry, these $10 buying games, these 5 antique, for a pretty long time. Because I'm fully aware now. I've got so much to fucking learn. Why would I want to play higher stakes, increase my variance? When I'm still trying to learn, I enjoy playing these games anyway. I enjoy the stakes. So yeah, I think it'll be quite a long time before I'm thinking about moving up, because I think it's a sort of game where you'd want minimum 100 buy-ins. Now I could just load that money and just be like, bang, I've got my 100 buy-ins. I could even do that for the next limit up. But what would be the point in doing that if I don't feel I'm ready anywhere near good enough to play those games? Once I feel good enough, maybe I will, top the roll up a little bit and move up. But for $20 buying games, you're going to be wanting a bankroll of $2,000 to be properly rolled for them. And do I want to put $2,000 into this game and potentially, because we need that roll because the swings can be so huge, potentially have $1,000 downswing? Not really. Not really. I think $500 downswings are eminently possible in these games. Do we expect it to happen? No, that's obviously the extreme. But I think 20 to 40 buying downswings are going to be pretty routine. Well, 20 is at least, because I had a 15 buying downswing in one day yesterday. I don't think I can play much, given what I think I know now. I don't think I can play much worse than I played yesterday. I made some, as we talked about earlier, made some pretty big mistakes in some deeper stack spots, which won't happen again because I won't put myself in those situations again. But nevertheless, if you're grinding this game pretty hard and you're getting into 20 to 25 coin flips a day, or slightly worse than coin flips, slightly better than coin flips, but effective coin flips a day, and then perhaps not running great in other scenarios with like nuts versus redraws that don't get there. And yeah, could I see me having a minus 20 buy-in day one day? Or if not in a day, could I see myself having a minus 20 buy-in downswing? And yeah, I absolutely could. I absolutely could. And that's even when I'm trying without tilt. I think, yeah, that could just happen. And then when you do factor a little bit of tilt in, and there's no doubt I did get a little bit steamed up last night and misplay a couple of hands, then yeah, the possibilities are there for the huge downswings. But the possibilities are equally there, or maybe even more so there, for fucking enormous upswings too. I think this ace queen suit is just going to have too much equity. And it did. Oops, no, we don't want to top up, we want to be withdrawing. Not letting me withdraw. Oh, it's because I'm... Right, okay, so we need to do the top up by 75 to then withdraw at the start of next hand. No, that spot that just happened there, that's the kind of spot where I just didn't win any of them in the last day and a half. But you got to keep taking them. You can't just not take them. Just be like, these haven't gone well for me lately, so I'm going to try and avoid taking them. You cannot avoid taking them. Some guy who is not a winning player, who is making probably some quite big mistakes. If they're going to put all their chips in a spot where you have to call, and then you're thinking, well, I'm not going to take this spot this time because I've lost too many of these lately, then you're making mistakes. You just got to get back in there and be like, right, fine, here we go again. And long term, you're going to turn out halfway with them. The EV will even out. Overling the jacks here, I think. But the worst thing you can do is start making like decisions that are slightly negative EV just to try and dodge variance, because all that will do long term is increase your variance. If you're passing up small plus EV opportunities to dodge variance, then you just hurt your win rate, of course. But these jacks, can we limp shove these jacks? I don't know. Is jacks too light? I think it probably is. I think I probably want queens plus to limit shove, queens plus an ace king. Not sure I love the call, to be honest. but I don't love limp fold. So I'm not sure about that spot. I think like my limp jamming range is pretty much queen queen and then just all combinations, like queen queen plus and all combinations of ace king. But like limping pocket jacks are just like call raises. I'm not sure I'm in love with that. Against like this guy, king jack, just has to be played like the nuts. He's 76. 70, got to look at his stats. 75% C bet off that. I mean, what can you do other than just get it in against him? Against a lot of people there with two pairs, you know, you're going to be in rough shit, or not in rough shit, but he's going to have a lot of equity against the people who play a lot different style to him. Say that was against this fellow, then our top two pair would probably be flipping at best versus get it in range, but against someone who's playing 79-43 and then C betting 75% of the time and top two pair, you just like woohoo, treat it like the nuts and expecting to suck out a decent percent of the time, but you know, get your money in good, which is your job. I've already been playing for close to a couple of hours for this session. I just jumped on to make a quick video because my wife popped out. She said she'd be gone about 40 minutes. So we're not going to be recording too much longer, and I'm not going to be playing too much longer this session. I'm going to have a break, have some food, and then I'm going to watch PKR Par tonight on the Sky Twitch streets, and then have another game of this later on. Because even though I've had like a sickening like downswing in the last couple of days, I didn't feel that good about playing this morning. But then I'm in like I've got a Discord group, and I've started a small Facebook Messenger group too. Just go to chat with some players who play the game, and that within 10-15 minutes of chatting with those guys, discussing what happened to me last night and the mistakes I felt I made, and then just generally getting it out of my system. Bang! I was bang ready for playing again. I was boom, let's go. I played a small session before dinner. Kind of broke about even. Played pretty well, I thought, but broke even. I took my mum for a vaccine. I came back and I've been playing for about 2 hours now, and I feel like this one's been a profitable session now. Well, it's certainly been a profitable video. But yeah, it's just like the hunger's there to play. If I had like a 19 buying or 15 buying downswing at no limit hold'em, I probably wouldn't want to play again for fucking weeks. But this, I'm like, it's like it was when I was young again, when I first started playing poker. Bang, I just want to play every day. Bang, get me at the tables, get me at the tables, get me at the tables. I want to play. It's just such a fun game. Really is a big fun game. Could we have this flop over here, please? That would be just wonderful. Boo! So we've had two players here. Limp, call, 20 chip pre-flop raises. Then we get a flop that we can just do nothing with, unfortunately. And Ace King might still be the best hand here, but I think just like punting it in, I don't know. Got like an SPR of just over 1-1. Can we punt it in here? Is this a punt? I don't think it is, actually. I don't think it is a punt. I think if someone has an 8, they're probably just going to lead out. And against 10x, then we've got some equity against like 10x, pocket jacks, pocket queens. Got reasonable equity if we do get called. This might be a punt, but it's a considered punt. Against quads, we're fucked, of course. again, against quads, we are not doing well. But I think, against a lot of the stuff he's going to have there, like Jack 10, pocket jacks, pocket nines, we get lots of folds against them, and we also get, like, when we do get it in against one pair, we're not in diabolical shape here. What do we have going on? An SPR of about 3 against a whale on a board where he might easily call it off with worse hands, and we deny, or we charge his draws the maximum. So we're charging the maximum to draw here, and he might call with ace jack, ace 10, that type of thing. Ace queen, once we make it this big pre-flop, I don't think there's any folding of it. But again, over here on this table where the guy made the quads, he limp called like 20 antis pre. Yeah, fine. He made his quads there and he stacked me. But I'm not sure limp calling 20 antis pre-flop with pocket pairs is going to be a winning strategy in these games. Because what happens there when he doesn't flop a set and I just do what I did? No, when he doesn't flop quads, sorry, and he's just left with like a medium pair. He's just going to be like folding so much equity so often. King jack off, I think we're going to fold out of position. So again, I'm just thinking out loud here. I'm not calling anyone out anymore for making mistakes and being shit, because I'm not sure exactly how good my strategies are either. Well, I'm thinking about things in terms of like, right, I'm seeing him doing that. Feels like it's a leak. So how do we exploit him? And if he's limp calling 20 antis with one pair, I think we can make huge ISO raises and big shoves on flops and expect to have a decent chunk of fold equity versus those types of hands. And he's going to have to make a decision against us. He's either going to have to hold on a lot with these like medium pairs that don't improve, or just fold a bunch of equity was over and over and over again. I wouldn't be dissuaded from taking that line again against this type of player, because if they are going to get to flops with lots of medium pairs that don't improve, then he's going to be in a lot of tough spots. I mean, you flop a set, I think it's a red, I think you flop a set like 17% of the time in this game, rather than like the 11% or so you flop them in Hold'em. So you do have slightly more chance of flopping this set, but still, nevertheless, still around 80% of the time, you're going to be left with like maybe one pair that's also got like a one-line straight draw there too, which you're not going to be super happy punting, tons of money in with post-flop. I just wish there was like a better note-taking system on PP, where if you put a note on somebody, like LC huge pre with pocket pair, I was typing the note in there, and obviously it wasn't going in, but when you type that in, it doesn't tell you you've got a note on somebody, so it came up with like a little N icon or something, so you knew you'd actually written something about them. That would be handy. This was 10-9 suited, I would be willing to make a large ISO raise pre-flop, but given there's a gap in it, we're just going to check. Again, maybe this is not that much difference to 10-9 suited. It feels significantly worse, but maybe it isn't. So we have the guy that sits on quads and now wants to lead out on this board. That tells me he's got a hand he likes, but he's vulnerable. Obviously nothing we're going to be able to do, but it'd be nice to see if that read is confirmed correct. It feels much more like oh, I like my hand, but it's vulnerable, so I need to bet, rather than when he flopped quads, obviously he was happy just checking because he knew his hand was invulnerable. Yeah. So he did have a hand where it looks pretty strong. Jack 9 and 998, but there's going to be lots of hands that have decent equity against it that he's going to want to protect against. This guy jams, it's going to be close with the ace jack because we saw him earlier just rip king jack over a limp. Again, it's the same guy. I think we just have to go with the ace queen suited here against this guy who we know is capable of jamming in plenty wide. Against this guy who's manic, then the ace jack becomes a really easy shove. And we lose to the 9-6, but as you can see, the pre-flop jam was obviously fine against 9-6. 9-6 probably has reasonable equity there, which is just how sick this game is, when you get it in ace-jack versus 9-6, and you're probably not performing too much better than a coin flip. Now, last week I was winning all of them, and I thought I'd found a magic money tree. I was like, oh, cool, people getting it in with 9 high against me and 10 high against me. But even though it's clearly very, very poor play by him, it isn't that bad in terms of like the equity he's getting it in with. Even though obviously you shouldn't be doing that sort of thing. It's not as terrible as it is in some other games. And with the flush draw and the backdoor straight draw, we're probably going to be wanting to see some turns here with this hand. Against him, this is the nuts. Not worried about the board pairing because it doesn't change anything. That obviously changes things because now we lose to the ace of hearts. And make a small value bet just to make sure he doesn't fold a heart. Full house here with our queens. Just going to make a value bet. Fold into a raise, I think, as it's tiny. We're going to lose here, but we're getting too good a price. I'd love to get 8-10 against him, but against two people, we're just going to fold. And we would have got it in bad, even though we would have won the pot. We wouldn't have won the pot, actually. We would not have won the pot. This is the mega nuts against this guy. We were hoping he's going to make one of his big raises, and we're just going to jam. Do it. Do it. Oh. Come on, kid. You can do it. I don't know. I mean, we have the flush draw. He doesn't have to have an ace. Fuck it, this guy gives plenty of action. If he's got the ace, then let's go club hunting. He just has the 9-7. He just has the 9-7. Happy days. Happy days. Happy fucking days. That's a reasonably solid flop. No slow playing in this game though. No slow playing. Hope it's in there with like King X. Or some kind of draw. Jack 10 would be nice for him to have. Not a spades though. Ace 10's drawing dead. Very nice. Well, drawing dead to runner ace. Or runner kings. We're not going to flip here with the 2 9s. So I'm going to end the session now. So we're not going to top off our cut our stacks down. Let's see. We were minus 5,500 when I woke up this morning. So I think we've had a little bit of an upswing here. The days, see now the days flipped. Now it's the 21st according to these, but it's the 20th here. But that was minus 5,500 ish. So yeah, we have had a small uptick. See, it's the 21st now, but it's not the 21st anymore. So yeah, that's why how it tracks the days isn't quite right for GMT. But we are out of all our tables. And I hope you guys enjoyed the update. There's no point just doing updates saying, oh, look at me, I'm doing wonderful. You know, you've got to chart the good with the bad. And we've had a bad couple of days, but I think we've had a very good learning experience, which perhaps isn't worth the $150 it cost me, but you know, long term it probably will be. So take care everybody. I think I'm going to do another video tomorrow because the work I was supposed to be doing tomorrow I'm not doing anymore, so I'm probably going to make another video tomorrow. Could be a long one too, you never know. But take care everybody, have a lovely evening, and we'll see you again probably tomorrow. Bye bye for now.